So, you want me to spoil romance for you? Okay, swallow this cringe meat pie. I'm a romantic who doesn't believe in romance. Bring that statement to your support network and have them try to unwind it for you. This year is about 3 things: micromancing, DMWs, and mail casting. Because it's a podcast show, I'm assuming you want me to expand on what those are for you. No. Alright, micromancing. They're tiny sentiments overdoing grand gestures. DMWs. Dating with me. Being in the middle of people's dating like as if you're watching a reality show. Male casting. And casting men into male archetypes. Survey says 1 in 3 women are doing this. Guess which one I am? Sex pig, toxic turkey. I do have a ravenous hypersexual attitude. And I was once called something in a delightfully dark compliment. But that's gonna stay between the lovers. And it's not for you. So I'm not gonna tell you what that compliment was. Deal with it, use your imagination if you have one. If you don't have one, have someone loan an imagination to you, and then come up with their own darkly sweet compliments that might fill in the blank, because I'm not telling you what was really said between this lover and his lover, alright? What stays in the sheets, stays in the sheets. What gets said in the sheets, stays in the sheets. What happens in the sheets, stays in the sheets. Unless there's an illegitimate child, or, I don't know, talk show level scandal. And that goes back to those DMWs. Anyway, alright, moving on.
Crack open a cold box of wine or pour something cold on ice because it's the Binge-Watchers Podcast.
Sarah Michelle Gellar is set to reprise her iconic role as Buffy Summers in a Hulu reboot. Why am I telling you that? Because you've arrived at home video headlines. What else is going on? Dave Franco, O'Shea Jackson Jr., and Peter Dinklage are all set to star in a road trip comedy called The Shitheads. Now, first of all, every time they go to have a scandalous title, it never gets past the censors of the MPAA board or motion pictures, or the fact that like the algorithms are probably not going to accept a title that has shit in it. So you can't call movies shitheads, which is probably going to get retitled upon release, which is what happens to all those movies. Like, Cock Blockers came out as Blockers, which is, don't Google it because you might be looking at the wrong cocks if you Google Cock Blockers. But however, Blockers is a teen comedy. It's about 3 teens trying to lose their virginity at prom night and they get stalked by their parents. It's got John Cena. It's got Leslie Mann. Who else is in that movie? Everybody's pretty good in the movie. And anyway, you have to look up this movie called Blockers. Again, it was supposed to have a scandalous title. They couldn't release it with a scandalous title. It got retitled. Again, what I'm telling you, that's just one fine example of movies getting retitled for this very same scenario. Alright. Trivia time, which was formerly called Savage Stats. Now it's just like, what is tonight's movie? The lives and tribulations of a staff of independent newspaper writers in Boston. They're struggling financially. Unbeknownst to them, they're about to be taken over by a big publisher and go through a series of upheavals. This is in a movie called Between the Lines. It's the feature film debut of John Hurd. The alternative newspaper of the film was based on the Boston Phoenix. Jeff Goldblum did not have to fake Max playing the electric piano in the nightclub scene. He's an accomplished jazz pianist. Pianist. It sounds like the word penis. We've already established that. It's a romantic episode. We'll just call him the Penis Whisperer. Alright. There's a character in the movie. The dialogue itself best explains the movie. They say, all the news behind the news with some hippie smut. Joan Micklin Silver, she's actually from Omaha, of all places. And then she ended up in New York doing radio and producing largely independent movies. Now, according to IMDb, she is one of the most celebrated and noted women filmmakers from the 70s. She's descended from Russian immigrant parents who were fleeing the Russian Revolution. And the cast has a lot of debuts, like Bruno Kirby from City Slickers or Good Morning Vietnam. Or Jill Eckenberry before she was on LA Law, pre-LA Law. You can take a look at her in between the lines. We'll be right back from our favorite bits from in between the lines right after these messages. It's a good time to take a drink. And maybe fast forward if you don't like commercials in your show episodes or whatever. Find your next groove at groove.com. Welcome to GRUV, groove.com. It's yours, you own it, it's ready when you want it, anytime, again and again and again. They deliver the excitement of seeing a package at your doorstep and the joy of tearing it open. There's the relief of not having to sign up for 5 different streaming services just to enjoy your favorite titles. No unfulfilled promises of limitless libraries or on-demand availability. And hallelujah, no buffering. After all, what's more on demand than a hard copy? At Groove, they make one promise, to provide great entertainment, and they deliver. It's what they do, it's all they do. So take a look around, stay a while, find something you like. Welcome to Groove, entertainment delivered. They got some collections of like anti-Valentines, Blu-ray deals, and they also have a section of Whole Lot of Love as well. Groove.com, they're a new affiliate of ours. You can find the link in the show notes or on the website. Look, we love physical media. We love DVDs and movies. We'll be talking a lot about Groove.com. All right. That's the end of this week's messages. Now back to the show already in progress with favorite bits from this movie called Between the Lines. I mean, Bruno Kirby is pretty good. He comes off doing some pretty sincere stuff, trying to be a serious journalist, where he's like overly motivated and too enthusiastic, and his overzealous attitude kind of rubs the other reporters the wrong way, but he's doing a good job of portraying that. I mean, Jeff Goldblum's jacket. I mean, Google this movie, look up get an image of his jacket of this movie. It's like one of those crazy 80s Eddie Murphy, Michael Jackson, like retro chic, red Velcro, black leather things that are happening. I don't know. At one point, the jacket becomes a plot point when it gets it disappears or gets stolen after a party. And let's see, where are we at? I was saying too much. I just wanted to tell you it was a plot point and move on, and I gave you extra details I didn't intend it to. So let me wrap it up. All right, I like seeing John Hurt like really doing acting and not just being like an annoying dad in the Home Alone movies. The movie overall has this thing of like it can provoke fear of like inevitable changes at work in the face of trying to maintain like an artist state of mind. That seems compelling to me while watching the movie. Ratings. We have this system. You've heard me talk about it over and over again. If it's your first time, let me introduce you to the best movie rating system of all times. Binge now, binge later, or binge never. Watch it now, watch it later, or don't bother watching it. You can't get your life back. It's going to suck the time away for 2 hours. Oh my gosh, why did I watch that horrible monstrosity? I know I exaggerate the never because I'm trying to really establish that it's never. However, in the past, comments have been made to suggest that there is no never. It's a paradox. Anyway, binge now, binge later, or binge never. Where does this movie land? How do we rate Between the Lines? A binge later. The pacing is not caffeinated enough for me. It's more like smooth jazz in its tone. So if you can pay more attention than I can and write it out, you might like it more than I do. In a fan service, what are the fans up to? Are they chiming in? What do they have to tell us? In a previous show, I had said I'm always seeking a certain type of movie to fill my need, and I've watched, I don't know, maybe thousands of movies at this point, and it's like an addict trying to get his fix, and it doesn't have to be a specific genre, but the movie has to have certain qualities that I'm trying to facilitate. Anyway, so one of the fans chimed in. My name is Nexel5. I don't know if he's a fan of cough syrup or a video game, or that's his online handle when he streams. Anyway, thanks for chiming in. My name is Nexfifel. Fifel? I don't know. My name is Nexfifel. He offers Demolition Man. You know what? For me, that doesn't fill the void to what I was referring to specifically. However, that will fill the void if you crave more Wesley Snipes after watching the Blade movies, or Stallone after watching something like Judge Dredd, and you want to have a similar feeling, you go and watch Demolition Man. Staff picks. If you don't like the movie of the week, can we recommend another movie to tune into? Sure. How about Oni Mahoney? That's pretty incredible. It's Philip Seymour Hoffman, probably doing one of his best. And he's a bank manager with a gambling problem that has access to a multi-million-dollar account, and he gets into a messy situation. It's actually based on the largest one-man bank fraud in Canadian history. We've mentioned at least once or twice on the show before. Take a look at that, Oni Mahoney. 5 Year Engagement, that might be my favorite Emily Blunt movie. It's got Jason Segel as well. They're a couple that keeps having obstacles thrown in their way, infringing upon getting married, as the title implies, 5 Year Engagement. Have you ever seen Spider-Man and the Amazing Friends from the 80s? Who were his amazing friends? A mutant named Firestar and Iceman. You've seen him in the movies, seen him in the cartoons, probably read about him in the comics. I didn't know this. I found out that Firestar was created for this TV show. However, they made her look like Mary Jane Watson a little bit. That's who they based her on, the way Mary Jane looks in the comics. She has that fiery red hair, and she ignites in fire. That's her power, her mutant power. Fire up. So it's basically Spider-Man, plus he's got a hot chick that shoots fire, and Iceman, cool as ice. Actually, what's funny about this show is, like, Iceman's one-liners are actually better than Spider-Man's, so it kind of walks the line of, like, you paying attention to Iceman's zingers and not Spider-Man's, and Spider-Man's supposed to be the witty zinger one, so it's kind of like, hey, you know, who's hogging the spotlight there? Who's standing out in the scenes? Iceman. Anyway. Wolverine makes an appearance in the show, but he has an Australian accent. It was done by this, I don't know, he might be a well-known voice actor, Neil Ross. And if I'm stepping on somebody's legacy, I'm sorry. If I should know this guy, I don't know him. I know him from this cartoon. Despite the characters obviously being from Canada in the comics, they gave his character an Australian accent in this cartoon. There's a character named Video Man. He's created exclusively for this series. Initially, they were going to have Video Man be a villain, but with the video game craze that was starting in the 80s, Marvel decided, the character should maybe have potential as a hero instead of a villain, and so they set him up to be included later in like an X-Men cartoon. All right, friends. Did you know that the fear of dating actually exists, and it's called samosaphobia? That's like saying, like, oh, you're afraid of the samosas, the sandwich, or like, endless mimosas, mimosaphobia, fear of mimosas. Anyway, no, Sammassophobia. There's an R in there. Sarmassophobia. It's a fear of romantic interactions. It can include a fear of people, objects, or social situations that are typical of dating. I didn't know this had a definition. I didn't know it existed. Do I feel it? Absolutely. Do I got this fear? 100,000%. Make a horror movie about this. They probably have made a horror movie about the fear of dating. I don't know. There was that cannibal movie called, like, Fresh on Hulu, where it's like this guy was collecting women to cut them up and sell them to people who were going to eat them on the black market. That's kind of nuts. All right. Actually, I fear what people will do with my information on dating apps and OnlyFans rather than actually dating. What will they do with my personal information? I'm more worried about that. What is the fear of leaked information? I'm sure there is a name for that phobia as well. I mean, there's a fear for everything, right? That's what they say. All right. You know what? You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. We talked about sex pigs, toxic turkeys. We talked about cringe meat pies. We talked about being romantic without being romantical. We talked about DWMs that sound awful. It's an interesting, tantalizing abbreviation. What else can we talk about? I don't know. I know I'm rushing through this week. I got other stuff to do. I don't want to be committed to you. I don't want to have any commitments. Oh my gosh, is that another fear? It's romantic times. It's that season of I almost said season of the witch, but that's that time of the season or that season of time or whatever, toxic relationships, friendships fall apart, love affairs get started, kids get born. It's the Valentines. What is Valentine's? Am I incorrectly saying Valentines? No, I'm combining Valentine's with the word time to tell you it's the time of the year where Valentine's happens. Valentine's, get it? Look, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. See you next time if there is one. Piece of chicken grease, as they like to say among friends.